Death, they say, is an unwelcome visitor, arriving unannounced and stealing away those we hold dear in its cold embrace. I learned this harsh truth the night my wife met her end, or rather, the night she was murdered. It was the year 2018, she was a mere 27 years old, and we were parents to a 2-year-old girl. As we stepped into that New Year's Eve gathering, hosted by a friend, little did we know that the night would unfold into a macabre tale, etching itself as a grim chapter in our lives. Kate, my wife, was a Canadian who had relocated to the US following our marriage. Her lack of close connections in our new environment was evident, making her somewhat isolated at social gatherings. However, on that night, she encountered someone who left her visibly taken aback. Era, her childhood friend from Canada, unexpectedly made an appearance at the party alongside her husband. What made it even more surprising was the fact that Era had also married an American, someone from within our own circle of friends, who had recently settled in the US. Pleasantly surprised by her unexpected arrival, Kate became overjoyed, a feeling mirrored by her friend. After exchanging warm greetings, the two friends, who had been separated for far too long, excused us and went away to talk. Sensing the need to give them space to catch up, the rest of us drifted away, immersing ourselves in the party atmosphere. As the night progressed, we laughed, sang, and danced, eagerly anticipating the stroke of midnight when we could share another round of drinks before bidding farewell to the evening. As the party buzzed with laughter and music, oblivious to the underlying tension, none of us could have anticipated the dark turn the night would take. The jovial banter between two childhood friends suddenly escalated into a heated argument, escalating into a full-blown verbal altercation before our eyes. The reason behind their sudden animosity remained a mystery to us, yet there was no denying the intensity of their emotions. Kate, usually known for her gentle and amiable demeanor, unveiled a side of herself I had never witnessed in our 5 years of marriage. It was as if a dormant darkness had been unleashed within her, fueled by genuine frustration. Era, equally consumed by anger and frustration, stormed off, her husband trailing behind in her wake as we hurried to intervene. Worried about the sudden change in Kate's demeanor at the party, I gently prodded her for an explanation, but she brushed off my concerns, promising to discuss it later. Kate was always composed and level-headed, so I trusted her judgment and didn't push further, a decision I now deeply regret. If only I had insisted on knowing the truth then, perhaps I could have intervened and prevented the tragedy that was about to unfold. As the clock struck midnight, tensions ran high among the party guests. What was supposed to be a joyful celebration turned sour due to an unexpected argument. Feeling the weight of the unresolved conflict, we reluctantly agreed to end the festivities and bid farewell to each other, making our way to our respective vehicles. As we were preparing to depart, a sudden trickle of blood streamed from Kate's nose, a sight that made me shocked. There was something unnerving in her demeanor that set off alarm bells in my mind. Assuring me not to fret, she hastily excused herself from the gathering and went to the bathroom. A few minutes later, when she came out, her complexion was drained of color, and her eyes were swollen with distress. Concern etched into every line of my face, I approached her cautiously, inquiring about her well-being, but she did not respond. "Take me home," she uttered in a raspy voice, brimming with urgency. Sensing her acute discomfort, I wasted no time in ushering her to the car and speeding towards the nearest hospital, my heart pounding with apprehension. As we made our way back, her condition worsened. Dizziness overtook her, and her nosebleed returned with a vengeance, causing my worry and anxiety to mount. Those agonizing 20 minutes felt like an eternity as I raced down the road, my senses dulled by alcohol, desperate to save her from any impending tragedy. However, she was fated to leave and there was nothing I could do about it. As we raced towards the hospital, Kate's grip on my hand tightened, her breathing growing shallower with each passing moment. A sense of dread washed over me as I watched her, knowing deep down that something was terribly wrong. And then, in a heartbeat, her eyes fluttered closed, and the color drained from her face. We arrived at the hospital in a blur, but it was already too late. Kate was gone. The news was devastating for me as I struggled to comprehend the reality of what had just happened. How could she be gone? It felt like a nightmare from which I couldn't wake up, a cruel twist of fate that had torn my world apart in an instant. My mind raced with questions, but one thought burned brighter than the rest. I had to find out what had happened to Kate. I couldn't let Kate's death go unanswered, couldn't allow her to become just another statistic in a world full of senseless tragedies. She deserved justice, and I would stop at nothing to uncover the truth. I had developed a determination to get to the root cause of her death, considering that all the other guests at the party would have faced issues if it had something to do with the food there. Moreover, Kate was a completely healthy person who had no diseases or issues that would lead her to die like that. As I pondered the events of that fateful night, my mind inevitably turned to Era, the sole individual who had engaged in a heated argument with my wife prior to her untimely demise. In the wake of such a profound loss, suspicion clouded my every thought, causing me to view everyone with a skeptical eye. Thus, I resolved to locate Era and included her name in the police report I submitted. However, what the authorities uncovered during their investigation plunged me deeper into a state of bewilderment. It was revealed that Era had met a similarly tragic fate, succumbing to the same mysterious symptoms that had claimed my wife's life. As I grappled with the shock of Kate and Era's deaths at the same party, a chilling realization began to sink in. Their deaths were no accident. Determined to uncover the truth, I consented to Kate's autopsy, hoping for answers that would bring closure to this nightmare. The autopsy results revealed that Kate had unknowingly ingested a deadly cocktail of alcohol and drugs, a lethal combination that snuffed out her life. Era's autopsy painted an even darker picture. Her demise wasn't the result of accidental poisoning but a deliberate overdose of drugs. As the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, a sense of dread crept over me. How could this happen? And more importantly, who was responsible for orchestrating this macabre tragedy? The truth emerged through a painstaking investigation, leading to a shocking revelation. The same drugs that claimed Era's life were traced back to her own home, which led her husband to face the consequences in the form of 5 years imprisonment. From what the police had figured out during the investigation, I learned that Era was actually involved in the illegal drug trade and her husband assisted her in that. While at the party, Kate somehow came to know about that and wanted to reveal it to others. However, before she could do it, Era intentionally gave her a drink mixed with drugs, sending her spiraling into a confused and volatile state and leading her to enter a heated argument. This served as a chance for Era to divert the topic and make her forget it all along, something she successfully did. After being noticed by the other guests at the party, she left Kate alone and went away, consumed by the gnawing anxiety that her secret would soon be exposed. That is when she started to take the drug herself. Unfortunately, Kate had started to face the side effects of the dangerous combination of drugs and alcohol, something which led her to lose her life. Era, on the other hand, had not consumed the drug and alcohol but had taken it after the drink, which led her to face a similar death. This is how the reunion of two childhood friends took a tragic turn, leading both of them to lose their lives. Kate's untimely demise cast a shadow over our lives, leaving behind a void that seemed impossible to fill. Though I, with all the maturity and sensibility at my disposal, managed to navigate the storm of grief, it was our daughter who bore the brunt of the loss. 5 long years have slipped away since that fateful night, yet the specter of Kate's absence still haunts our home. Our daughter, now 7, carries the burden of her mother's absence, her heart aching for the love and care that was stolen from her. Despite my best efforts to shower her with affection and attention, the void left by Kate's departure remains, a haunting reminder of the tragedy that befell us.